Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last part, we took a look at some of the last mystery gift events that you can now only access through action replay codes, and now we're back in Violet City's Pokemon Center. Remember this guy? The guy called a depressed old man at the start of the LP, basically? Something I forgot to mention back then is that he's a returning NPC. This is Primo. Players of Fire Red and Leaf Green will recognize him as the host of any of the events on the Teachy TV tutorial item you can use from the Key Items menu once you get it in Viridian City. But he also holds a lot of secrets. Namely, if you tell him certain combinations of words entirely dependent on your language and version, and your trainer ID, you can get about 8 different new backgrounds for your PC boxes, but you can also get an egg for a Mareep, Wooper, and Slugma. With that said, finding out what those combinations of words are is next to impossible on your own. Thankfully, there are calculators online to do this. In my case, for instance, if I wanted to get the Mareep egg, I could tell him Compound Eyes and Huge Power. Or if I wanted the Wooper, I could tell him Foe and Beauty. This is most useful early on in the game if you want a fire type, and Slugma can do for an early game one that's decent. For instance, on my file, that'd be Effect Spore and Forecast. I think it's PokeWiki.de has a good calculator for this overall. It's not super important, but it's there. The main reason I'm bringing this up now in a video that's titled, well, the finale, is before we head off to do our second round against the Elite Four and Lance, I want to take care of the last things I know for a fact I haven't done in the game that's not like maxing out the Battle Tower. And I do want to state now, if there's anything else I've forgotten, tell me in the comments. I know I didn't show off the first half of the item collection, but I did do it. For instance, I have the Mystic Water from Cherry Grove City. The big thing is, there's just so much in this game, I genuinely don't know if I've done everything. If I get enough stuff that can build up to a long enough video, I'll do a special 45th bonus episode. Hello? You're breaking up. I think it depends on how my dad feels. I see. I'll be on my way. See you soon. You are... I remember your eyes. When I see a trainer whose eyes twinkle, I always remember. You have a Pokedex, so you're also in search of Pokemon. Let me see. I think I can help you with that. Let's say you have stones in front of you. Which color do you pick? After you've beaten Red, you can also come to Silphco and find Steven here, and he asks you about 3 stones. I think you can guess based off the colors he's asking you what's about to happen. He gives you one of the 3 Hoenn starters depending on your answer. You chose correctly. I'll give you Trico. I'm choosing Trico because I already have a fire starter in my Typhlosion and a water starter in my Squirtle. And I'm going to be giving this the name I tend to give a lot of my grass starters, Sage. Now, Trico in general is a pure grass type throughout its entire evolutionary line, ending up being a very fast, decent special attacker that's weak to flying, poison, bug, fire, and ice. Out of the grass starters, is probably the first one I really like. If you chose the Redstone, you get the Torchic line, which ends up being a firefighting, the first of the firefighting starters. That's weak against flying, ground, water, and psychic. That is really good with physical attack and special attack. Infernape is just a better version of this nowadays, though, I feel. It's decently fast. And Mudkip, if you choose the Bluestone, eventually becomes a water-ground type Pokemon, weak to grass exclusively and immune to electric, that's got good attack stats and HP, but doesn't have a lot to stand out otherwise. With that said, it's time for us to go back to the Indigo Plateau and take care of our last note of business, the Elite Four rematch. This is what everyone on my team is looking like in terms of stats, levels, and movesets at this particular point. So let's head on forward. Or not. Oh, a little bit. Hold it. You're going to take the Pokemon League Challenge now? You'll have to give up on that. My well-trained, beyond recognition Pokemon are gonna pound ya. Right here, right now, I challenge you. We got one last battle against Silver, but you can only find him here, notably, on Mondays and Wednesdays. In fact, if you go back to Dragon's Den on Tuesdays and Thursdays, he's still training his Pokemon. Starting off, he's throwing out his Sneasel. At this point in time, it has Shadow Claw, Feint Attack, Icy Wind, and Metal Claw still has Inner Focus for its ability, so it will not flinch. But you might be noticing something level-wise, that's a bit of a difference. I've brought it up before, but the weirdest thing about the level curve in Heart Gold and Soul Silver is they really want you to take care of the rematch against Silver here and the Elite Four before you fight Red, which is fine on its own, but for LP's sake, I think it's better to conclude with this, A, for consistency with how I did my Fire Red LP, but also because, frankly, it's the only way I can actively end on a credit sequence that's not awkwardly cut in after the fact. So here we are, about 20 levels over-leveled for the Elite Four themselves and about 10 levels over-leveled for Lance. With that said, Silver's for Alligator still got Torn for its ability, Ice Fang, Slash, Aqua Tail, and Crunch. The unfortunate thing is, you can tell Silver's making an effort. I'm just too powerful at this point, and you can tell he's making an effort because his Golbat is now a Crobat. Inner Focus for its ability, so it will not flinch. Air Cutter, Bite, Confuse Ray, and Toxic. I really like this particular moment for Silver because it actively shows he's trying to make changes about himself. Like, this is a friendship evolution, so there's clearly something going on here. It's really cool. I like this. Silver, in general, was probably the most interesting behind-the-scenes developed character in Pokemon until anything in Gen 5 happened. For instance, they briefly hint at it throughout the game itself, especially here in the remake with some slight character design changes. But Silver is meant to be Giovanni's son. That was only outright confirmed by us, basically by, I think, Fire Red and Leaf Green. But in this, that's what the point of that event with Celebi was. We got to see that moment. And seeing how far he's come, it's pretty appreciable. Next up, we got his Magneton, still got Magnet Pull for its ability, so Steel types, subtypes or otherwise, cannot flee. Discharge, Magnet Bomb, Mirror Shot, and Thunder Wave. Kind of a sad state when a water attack can take an electric type like that, huh? Next up, we got his Alakazam, synchronized for its ability, Psychic, Reflect, Focus Blast, and Recover. If you're on level, I'd say this is probably the most annoying member of his team, just because it has Recover, and any Pokemon that has Recover, I wish horrific critical hits against. But nowadays, with our level differences, it's not really going to matter at all. I should note, by the way, I believe this rematch unlocks after you've done the co-op fight with him in the Dragon's Den, but the Elite Four rematch unlocks the moment you've gotten your 16th badge. So that level curve is meant to be going from Blue to the co-op fight with Silver and Dragon's Den to this, with no real break between. Finally, we got a Gengar v Gengar here. His Gengar's got Levitate because it's a Gengar, Dark Pulse, Confuse Ray, Shadow Ball, and Sludge Bomb. But my Shadow Ball is just a wee bit stronger than yours is. So, good game, Silver. You've actually grown, I can tell at least. But you still got a long way to go before you can beat me at this point. Okay, I lost. Oh, no. I still can't win after all that training. I have to believe more in my Pokemon. No big deal. Sorry to have gotten in the way. Don't forget to rest your Pokemon before you challenge the champion. Thanks, man. Good luck with your training. And maybe we meet again someday. Although now I don't think Silver's shown up in anything since this besides Masters, so maybe we won't meet again someday. I really do hope they do that more with Pokemon again moving forward, where just past characters will show up just to be an optional fight. I brought that up earlier in the LP with the certain one in Gen 5 and Red here. It'd be really cool if you just, like, open a room in Gen 9 and you just find, like, Silver having a conversation with Lance. Now, the way we're handling the Elite Four this time around is the way we handled the Kanto and Johto Gym Leader rematches. I'm talking about their team, but I'm only showing the new Pokemon at full speed. Otherwise, we're speeding it up. Starting off, Will's throwing out his Bronzong. Heatproof for its ability, so it doesn't have the fire weakness. Gravity, Reflect, Payback, and Psychic for its attack. Speed up theme for this part, by the way, Silver Will, Super Range from Trails in the Sky, 2nd chapter. Next up, we got a new Pokemon. This is his Grumpig. Own Tempo for its ability, so it will not be confused. Confuse Ray, Signal Beam, Power Gem, and Psychic. Grumpig evolves from Spoink at level 32. It's a pure psychic type, so it's weak to Bug, Ghost, and Dark. It's got some good special defense going for it, but it can't really do much on the attack scale overall compared to a lot of other psychic types, but it's got some good health to back it up at least. And next up as well, we got another new Pokemon. This is Will's Gardevoir. Trace for its ability, so it'll copy your own special ability. Calm Mind, Charge Beam, Focus Blast, Psychic. Back during the Gym Leader refights, we fought a Gallade. That is the alternate final evolution for this line to Gardevoir. This evolves from Curly at level 30, Psychic, Fairy type in modern day, pure Psychic type as of this gen. So it is weak to Bug, Ghost, and Dark. Gardevoir can't take much punishment and can't deal out too well physically, but it's a fantastic special defense tank and special attacker. I like it a lot. I just like Gallade a little more. Will's Jigs has Forewarn again, Fake Tears, Lovely Kiss, Dream Eater, and Blizzard. His Slowbro's got Own Tempo, Curse, Amnesia, Body Slam, and Psychic, and his Zaptu's got Early Bird, a Citrus Berry, Confuse Ray, Quick Attack, Shadow Ball, and Psychic. Not too hard of a fight overall. By and large, every single Elite Four member has 2 new Pokemon on their team we have not seen before. And this even applies to Lance. And I do appreciate that. I like how they do that basically in every game where you can rematch the Elite Four in some way. I think starting from, I want to say Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald is the one that started doing that. It may have been main Gen 4. Starting off though, Koga's also got a new Pokemon. This is a Skuntank, Aftermath for its ability, so be careful of knocking it out with a physical move because you'll take 1/4 of the damage you dealt. Toxic, Dig, Sucker Punch, and Explosion. Skuntank evolves from Stunky, which I believe we've seen before in this LP. It's like level 34. Poison Dark type, so it's weak to ground, immune to Psychic. Great HP tank that's decent on the physical attacking side for the point in the game you can get it in the main Gen 4. There's just probably better Pokemon overall in the Psychic type and Dark type, but I do like its type alignment in terms of what it's weak to. Toxicroak's got Dry Skin for its ability, Swagger, X's or Cross Chop, and Gunk Shot. The Venomoth's got Tinted Lens for its ability, Baton Pass, Double Team, Silver Wind, and Psychic. But next up we got a Swalot. Sticky Hold for its ability, so you cannot steal its items. Sludge Bomb, Amnesia, Pain Split, and Yawn, and it's holding the leftovers. Swalot evolves from Gulpin at level 26. It is a pure poison type, so it's weak against ground and psychic. Big HP and decent defenses for a mid-game Gen 3 Pokemon. But if you play it right, you can get a really good tank out of this, thanks to things like leftovers. The biggest weakness of the Swalot line in general is that it just can't deal out as much damage as you might want, which is balanced because it's meant to take punishment, not deal it out, but for main campaign, you're probably going to want something that just deals out rather than tanks. There is a whole subset of Pokemon, as I brought up throughout this entire LP, that are just better to use in multiplayer and competitive than they are casually, because you just play the game so differently at that point. Which is an angle I appreciate about Pokemon, that there's so much you can do, and there's Pokemon that can be completely redefined. But for how I play, it just means that I have a distinct type that I tend to go with more so than anything else. And as you may have noticed throughout this entire LP, takes stats over 100 to do that. Oh, that's right, it has Pain Split as well, so that's Pain Split's a really annoying ability for a Pokemon like this. The way that particular move works is it adds the current HP of the user and target, then divides that by 2, and equalizes the 2 Pokemon to that HP total. So it can be really good at weakening an opponent that might be very aggressive against you, while bringing yourself back up to be more of a tank again. There's not many cases casually I'd say that's useful. It's more useful for the computer than you, I'd say. But in the right hands, that can be a pretty good move. Honestly, it can be especially good, weirdly, against legendaries if you're trying to maybe help them live an extra turn from struggle or something. Because say you throw out a Pokemon that has that at full HP, you can just keep them alive. Next up, Koga's throwing out his Crobat, Inner Focus for its ability, so it will not flinch, Fly, Cross Poison, Mean Look, and Toxic, and his Muck's got Sticky Hold and Black Sludge, so it's trying to heal itself against just leftovers by a different name. Minimize, Screech, Swagger, and Toxic. Koga got some good boosts here. I like this team a lot for him. But now we're moving on to our third member of the Elite Four. Like with the main Elite Four challenge, I do recommend stocking up before coming in here, grabbing some full restores and elixirs to recover your HP and PP just to help you get through the sweep pretty quickly. especially if you do this at the 16th badge and not when I'm doing it. But it's time for our rematch against Bruno. Starting off, he's going to throw out his Hitmontop with Technician for its ability, Close Counter, Earthquake, or Close Combat, Earthquake Counter, and Quick Attack. But now he's throwing out his Hariyama, Guts for its ability, holding a Citrus Berry, Bulk Up, Low Kick, Payback, and Bullet Punch. Hariyama evolves from that Makuhita Pokemon we saw at the SS Aqua at level 24. Pure Fighting type, so it's weak to Flying, Psychic, and eventually Fairy. High as hell HP for an early game fighting type in Gen 3 with a really good physical attack stat to boost it. The biggest problem with it is that it obviously can't use special moves worth a damn. It's not very tanky on the defense side, and it's pretty slow. Bruno's Machamp this time around has got no guard for its ability, Dynamic Punch, Stone Edge, and Bullet Punch alongside Foresight. But next up, we got arguably his most interesting Pokemon is Lucario. Inner Focus for its ability, so it cannot flinch. Close Combat, Iron Tail, Counter, and Extreme Speed. Lucario is an excellent Gen 4 fighting type. Fighting Steel, to be specific, so it is weak against Fighting Ground and Fire, but immune to Poison. Very high physical and special attack, decent speed, and it's not awful on the defense and HP, it's just kind of middle of the road with that. If you use this thing properly, though, you can take out some fights pretty quickly. I love Lucario. Hitmonlee's got Reckless for its ability, Close Combat, Blaze, Reversal, and Swagger. And Hitmonchan's got Iron Fists for its ability, Close Combat, Drain Punch, Bullet Punch, and Substitute. Close Combat's pretty common there, so be careful of very high damage moves unless you get the move in first. But now it's time for the enemy of all Walmart. It's time for Karen. I held that joke back last time. I work retail. I need to get it out of me. Let me go. Karen starts off with a new Pokemon. She's going to start off with her Weavile. Pressure for its ability, so you use double your power points. Ice Punch, Night Slash, Low Kick, and Ice Shard. Weavile evolves from Sneasel when leveled up holding a Razor Claw at night. Dark Ice type, so it's weak to Fighting, Rock, Bug, Steel, Fire, and eventually Fairy. Fighting's a 4x weakness and it's immune to Psychic. Very high physical attack, incredibly high speed. Sneasel isn't too great on its own, but Generation 4 did the line right by giving us this. I like this Pokemon a lot. It's got a lot of weaknesses, but I'd say it's still worth using. Compared to some other Pokemon like Abomasnow that have a lot of weaknesses. And next up we got Karen's Spiritomb. Pressure for its ability, so again, double power point usage. Curse, Confuse Ray, Pain Split, and Sucker Punch. Spiritomb's interesting that's somewhere between a normal Pokemon and a legendary in my eyes. It's Ghost Dark type, so it is weak to nothing as of this gen, and eventually gets weak to Fairy. Normal, Fighting, and Psychic, though, it is completely immune to, so this is a great Pokemon defensively on top of its already high defense and special defense stats. It's not bad at attacking either. The biggest weakness of it is that it is extremely slow, and its HP isn't the greatest, but with defenses as high as it is, and its typeset being as good as it is, you don't really need to worry about that. If you can manage to get your hands on one of these, it's really good. And it has a good learn set overall, too. Just good luck finding one, because every time they're in a game, they're usually one of the hardest Pokemon to find. Next up, Karen's sending out her Absol. Super Luck for its ability, Detect, Perish Song, Night Slash, and Psycho Cut. Then it's the Haunch Crow. Super Luck for its ability, Thunder Wave, Whirlwind, Drill Peck, and Sucker Punch. The Umbreon's got Synchronize, a Citrus Berry, Confuse Ray, Curse, Payback, and Sucker Punch. And then finally, her Houndoom is going to have Flash Fire once again, Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse, Flamethrower, and Sludge Bomb. I'd say overall, the rematch against the Elite Four, Karen has the best team, but Bruno can potentially be the hardest in terms of just how hard they hit you. And Koga gets some pretty good tanks this time around, all things considered. Poor Will. Poor Will. Now, while the Elite Four were sped up, we're not going to be doing that to Lance because it's the final fight. I mean, come on. I'm waiting for you. Kyle, I knew that you with your skills would eventually reach me here. There's no need for words now. The battle determines the stronger of the two of us. The most powerful trainer is the Pokemon League champion. I had Lance the Dragon Match to accept your challenge. Sometimes I forget I can talk that fast. All right, Lance, starting off, is going to be throwing out his Salamence. Intimidate for its ability, holding a Lumberry, so it can randomly heal any status effects and conditions you've thrown on it. Dragon Claw, Flamethrower, Shadow Claw, and Rest. Salamence is the Dragonite of Gen 3. It's an Uber that's just a pseudo-legendary. Dragon flying type, so it's weak to rock, ice, dragon, and eventually fairy. Ice is a 4 times weakness, and immune to ground. Very high physical attack and good special attack, good speed, good HP. It's a good Pokemon. The big problem with Salamence in every game it's in is that you usually get it so late, it's mostly going to be useful in multiplayer anyway. But if you fight one, oh boy, you're gonna remember it. I'm looking at a certain Elite Four member in Gen 3. Next up, Lance is sending out his Gyarados. Intimidate for its ability, Dragon Dance, Waterfall, Ice Fang, and Thunder Wave. Something I do find a little funny on a level basis here. The situation's sort of been reversed between us and Lance at this point. We were about 5 to 10 levels lower than his Pokemon when we fought him back in part 21. And now it's the opposite way. We are about 5 to 10 levels higher than his Pokemon in a lot of cases. The problems of the weird level curve with the Endgame in this game. Next up, Lance is throwing out his Garchomp Sandveil for its ability, so if a sandstorm is kicked up, its invasion increases. Outrage, Swords Dance, Earthquake, and Roar. So you know what I just said about Salamence being the Dragonite of Gen 3? Meet the Dragonite of Gen 4. Dragon Ground type, so it is weak against Ice, Dragon, and eventually Fairy. Ice is a 4 times weakness, but it's also immune to Electric. Very high physical attack and good speed, good HP. It doesn't do too well on the special front, be it defense or attack-wise, but it doesn't need to with how this thing's aimed to kill you before you can kill it. A good Ice Beam, though, and you're probably gonna be fine. Also a little more useful than Salamence in that you can actively find one usually before the end of the game it's in. Next up, Lance is throwing out his Charizard once again. Still has Blaze for its ability, Flamethrower, Hyper Beam, Dragon Claw, and Air Slash. A good Surf with my levels will probably take it out though. Also, I appreciate you, Lance. You don't just use Dragon types, you use Dragon-esque Pokemon as well, because it took until Gen 6 for Charizard to ever have anything Dragon type directly outside of a couple moves. Next up, Lance is sending out his Altaria, Natural Cure for its ability, so it'll heal its status effects upon switching out, Double Team, Dragon Breath, Perish Song, and Hyper Beam. Altaria is another Gen 3 Dragon Flying type, so it is weak against Rock, Ice, Dragon, and eventually Fairy, immune to ground. Ice is a 4 times weakness. Very high special defense and good physical defense as well. It's more the defense Dragon for Gen 3 compared to Salamence and I guess even Flygon. I like this thing a lot. I use it more or less at about 70% of my Gen 3 playthroughs. But with this level gap, don't gotta worry about much, and a single Ice-type move will usually put it down to critical. Finally, we see that Lance has grown up. He's only got one member of the Dratini line on his team, and it's a single Dragonite. Very high level, though. Inner Focus for its ability, so you cannot make it flinch. It's holding a Citrus Berry. Draco Meteor, Safeguard, Fire Blast, and Hyper Beam. This thing is meant to bring out the punishment if it can get a move in. But you see, the problem is, most of his team is in some way quad weak to Ice, so Ice Beam kinda kicks his ass the entire game. That's it. That's the final boss for us. It is an odd feeling. I agree, Lance. 44 videos, maybe 45 if I get enough content for a bonus video, and we're here. All we gotta do now is just put ourselves in the Hall of Fame one last time, and we're done. It's kinda weird to say that. I never listened to your radio show once the entire LP. I'm sorry. I guess the radio is something I didn't really show off a lot throughout the LP, barring like when there's a unique event with it, like the frequency in the Ruins of Alph and the Team Rocket stuff. It's more useful for catching Pokemon than anything because you can use the Poke Flute to kind of lower encounter rates. You can use Pokemon music to boost encounter rates, to find certain Pokemon that are exclusive to it thanks to Hone and Sinnoh Sound. But for what I was doing, it didn't really come in handy a lot. Yeah, it has been a long time since we last came here. 23 videos alone. That's a long-ass post-game. We're not exactly a new champion, though. We're kind of a returning champ. Overall, the Elite Four rematch is not too hard, but it's great for money if you bring an amulet coin. Let's hear that song one more time. And that's it. That's Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver as best as I can show off to my knowledge. Again, if there's anything else I've missed, tell me in the comments below and I'll see if I can get enough together for a bonus video to round this LP up to an even 45 parts. Heart Gold and Soul Silver on the whole, just to look at the project in game now, I have a lot of nostalgic attachment for it. I remember going to GameStop in the morning to grab this the day it came out. But as time has passed, I've started to really look kind of negatively towards the game overall. I still gotta give it credit. There's a lot of content here. The sprite work's fantastic. The remixes are great. But Johto and Kanto, especially the Kanto revisit from Johto, just feel empty compared to what Gen 5 and beyond do for story progression for my tastes. The biggest problem overall I brought up several times, I probably hammered a bit too much into at the LP, even honestly looking back, is the level curve just makes the latter half of the game a pushover. There's basically nothing there besides the experience of going through Kanto again. And even then, it's not a very big experience. I can at least say there's a lot to do on the sides, but nowadays, I'd say if you want to play Johto, just don't play Johto. If you want to play Kanto, play Fire Red or Leaf Green or Let's Go. There's just better Pokemon out there, I think, nowadays. I'd recommend Black and White and Black and White too. I think those are probably peak Pokemon overall, and even though I dislike the region more overall in terms of layout, I'd say Sinnoh even has a lot of good going on for you. Johto itself is the biggest problem with Gen 2. If they maybe made the remake a bit more of a zero mission type remake, where the level design's the same, but they make the level curve more linear. They make more story events in Team Rocket, so it's not just they're trying to get their boss back and then there's nothing in Kanto. This would be a lot more interesting. I'd say overall, between the 3 Pokemon remakes that are good, because Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is very much unfinished compared to even these other remakes, I'd say go for Fire Red and Leaf Green or Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, because they have a lot more love put into them. There's a lot more fun on the combat, and even in the campaign at least. The biggest thing Heart Gold and Soul Silver has going for it is content amount, because between the 2 regions, the Battle Frontier, and all the other side things, there is a lot to do here. The Pokeathlon alone, if you go to max out all those trophies, could be hours and hours on end of endless content. But it's whether or not you like the grind, and in the case for me, as I've gotten older, I really don't in this case. I have a lot of old nostalgia for this, but I think there's just better games now. But that said, if you want to play this, it's on the DS, and it's expensive nowadays, because I don't think there's a virtual console release of this ever done. And even if there was on the Wii U, that store is down now, so you can't get it. The next time we meet up in Pokemon, we're going to be continuing the remake train into either Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire. I'm not entirely sure which yet. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching this very long LP. Thanks for sticking around for over 57 hours of recorded content, over 90 technically behind the scenes, just for the recording, even more for editing. Have a great night, take care, and I'll see you guys next Let's Play, whatever that may be, and maybe for that bonus 45th episode if we get enough stuff for it. See you guys then.